Hey guys, Sean from Bantam Overland. Today we are super excited to announce our brand new plug and play bundle for your 2007 to 2011 Jeep Wrangler. Our bundle consists of a pair of Kicker KS component speakers. So that is a 6.5-inch mid-bass driver with a 1-inch tweeter, as well as a pair of 6.5-inch coaxial speakers, all necessary harnesses to plug directly into the factory plugs, including crossovers. It'll also include our Bantam Overland custom acrylic speaker adapters, as well as all the necessary screws to attach your brand new speaker bundle to your Jeep Wrangler. Our Kicker KS bundle will give you a much better clarity and overall sound in your Jeep. So let's go over some of the tools necessary to complete our installation. We're gonna need some kind of drill or Phillips head screwdriver, panel removal tool, an assortment of cutters and crimpers, T15 Torx for the rear soundbar, as well as the front speaker pods, a 7mm, an 8mm, and a 10mm socket or wrench, as well as an extension. We'll also need some wire ties to secure some of the extra wiring for the speaker harnesses. So now that we've gone over all the tools necessary, we can start with the disassembly of our 2007 Jeep Wrangler. I like to start on the driver's side. First thing I'll do is release the strap holding the door to the inside. You can remove your door if you so choose, or if you already have your doors off, that's great as well. So to do that, open the door and just slide the loop off of the hook. Get our door open so we can have access to our side panels. So for this part of the disassembly, we're gonna need our 7, 8, and 10mm socket or wrench. We're gonna need our screw gun, and we're gonna need our panel removal tool. So I'm gonna start by removing the 3 panels so I can see the bolts that we need to remove. So starting with your panel removal tool, just go ahead and stick it back in behind and just gently pop out and remove, put in a safe spot. So once we have that removed, that will give us access to our tweeter plug area, as well as our 2 bolts that hold the knee pod in. Now they're going to be copper in color. They're going to be the only 2 that are that color. So now that we have that off, we can go ahead and remove our shroud underneath our steering wheel by just pulling down and releasing the top clips. Putting that in a safe spot. And on the 07 to 11, you're going to have a sub panel. It's rubber. You can just pull that off. So once those are all off, it'll reveal a couple of 7mm bolts here, 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 here. And I like to remove the top one here just to give me a little extra pull on the dash once I remove the speaker pod. So now our panels are off. We can grab our screw gun with a socket extension, or you can use a regular socket wrench, and we can start removing some of those 7mm bolts. Go to the lower one, and then the very bottom. And then there's one more down in the lower left-hand corner of the dash. As you see right now, we can't move it, but we'll remove that one. And now the dash is free. So once those are removed, there are 2 7mm. They're the copper ones onto the side. We'll remove those 2. So now our speaker pod as well as our dash are loose. So now we'll switch up, grab our 10mm socket, remove the two 10mm holding the blocker plate on. And just lift that up and remove. And now there's one more bolt we need to remove. Switch out to our 8mm. And now that one is a little hard to see below the sub panel right here. Now we got all the bolts that we need to remove out to remove our speaker pod. So next we'll gently pull out on the front of the dash, and you will wiggle the speaker pod out. Now I like to roll it over so I can unplug it. So there's a speaker plug that is attached to the back of the pod itself. You'll just reach in, press down, and remove the speaker, and then remove the entire assembly all at once. I like to set them on a table to remove the factory speakers out, and then to put our new aftermarket speakers in. Now it's time to move on to our tweeter. So to remove the tweeter, you're going to want to use your panel removal tool. It's pretty simple. It will just pop out. You just got to take care that you're not scratching anything. Slowly insert your removal tool and just give it a little bit of a twist. That will actually pop the tweeter out of the housing. And then there's one single plug. You'll just unplug it, leave it like such, and then you'll just feed the wiring back down in to get it out of the way, and just slide it in so it's into our side panel here. So now we're done with the driver's side. We can go ahead, move on to the passenger side, and it's basically the exact same process, but I'll show you how to do it. So now on the passenger side, we need to remove the glove box. Easiest way to do that, drop it down, push in on either side, and then just remove. So you'll notice that there's a couple of clips to hold it in, and that's what allows it to rotate. You just popping that right off. Now once the glove box is out, you'll have that lower sub panel just as you did on the driver's side. Just pull that off, set that to the side, or put it down low, and then we'll remove our side panel starting at the top, and then just slowly working our way down and removing that as well. Same brass or copper colored screws holding in the speaker pod. On this one, we're only going to have 4 7mm bolts holding this in, as well as our 7mm at the very bottom corner, and our 8mm holding the other side of the pod in. So let's get the 7 mils removed. They are here, 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 and here. So let's get those 7 mils removed. So now we have those 4 7mm removed. You can actually reach in and go ahead and unplug the factory speaker connector from the speaker pod, press in on the back side of the plug, and slide out. Now we can go ahead and remove the 2 7mm from the side. So you can see that has released our speaker pod for the most part. There's the 1 7mm at the bottom corner of the dash, because right now our dash does not move. Remove that bolt, and now we have some movement in our dash. So we have one more bolt to remove. That's the 8mm, and that is right here. Go ahead and remove that. And then you can grab your speaker pod and pull it out through the glove box. So now we can start removing the tweeter, exactly the same as on the driver's side. Take your panel removal tool, gently stick it in and twist, and that will release the clips. Once you have the tweeter out, just unplug it, remove it. Now you're going to want to, again, fish the wire back down through into the cavity here on the side, and then you're done with your tweeter. Moving on to the rear soundbar, you can do it one of two ways. You can do it inside the vehicle and just remove the speakers directly from. I'm going to actually remove the soundbar so we can show you a step-by-step on the table. So to remove the soundbar, you're going to have three 10mm bolts on either side of the soundbar. Now the passenger side is where your speaker harness plug is going to be plugged in. So I'm going to start on the passenger side. I'm going to remove 2 of the 3 bolts, leaving 1 in just so it doesn't fall down when I go over and remove the other 3 bolts on the driver's side. So let's start doing that now. This one I'm just going to loosen, but not remove completely. And we'll go ahead and remove this one completely. So now we'll come over to the driver's side and go ahead and remove those 3. Now you want to make sure that you hold on to your soundbar when you remove the 3rd bolt on the driver's side. So that way it doesn't fall and potentially damage anything. So just let it down gently. So if you have a second person, they can always hold the other side up while you remove both the 3rd bolt and unplug the harness. I'm only one person, so this is how I have to do it. So I'll go ahead and remove, holding onto the soundbar, and remove the final bolt. And you'll notice the harness plugged in right up top. To remove the speaker plug, press in on the tab and slide out. And now you can remove the entire soundbar from the vehicle and take it to your workbench. Now that everything's on our workbench, we can go ahead and show you the removal of the factory speakers and the installation of the new aftermarket speakers. So let's begin the disassembly with our rear soundbar. So in our Kicker plug-and-play bundle, for the soundbar, you'll receive 2 6.5-inch coaxial speakers, 2 speaker plugs, as well as 2 of the Bantam Overland speaker adapters. So on this one, we'll remove 6 T15 screws from the soundbar to remove the factory speaker grills. So we can begin doing that now. Now you can use handheld T15 or one on a screwdriver, totally up to you. I'm going to use a screw gun. Remove that. Now you'll notice that that is actually how the speaker is held in, is those 3 T15 screws. Once the speaker's out, just depress the plug on the speaker and remove it. We'll do the same thing to the other side. Move the grill, remove the speaker. Now take note, the longer tab is facing inside, so we'll want to remember that for when we put in our speaker adapters. Same, press in and unplug. So your Bantam Overland speaker adapters will come with a protective paper on top. You just need to remove that. So you'll just kind of get your fingernail under there and then start pulling it off. That is on both sides. You don't have to remove both sides, but. So and again, there's 1 longer and 2 shorter. We're just going to go ahead and place that directly in there as that factory speaker was. Get the other side and get the paper removed on the other adapter. Again, making sure the longer tab is facing the inside. As you can see, all 3 holes line up perfectly. So now we can go ahead, grab our speaker adapters, get them plugged in. Make sure you hear that click, give it a little pull, make sure it doesn't pop off. Do that on the other side. We're good there. You can go ahead and grab your speaker. Now there is a larger and a smaller female spade. Larger will go on the positive side. The smaller will go on the negative side. And then you can set that in there. So there are already some pre-drilled holes in the adapter. Just line those up. Make sure you're hitting all 4. There we go, that's all 4. Same on the other side. Bigger one is positive. Smaller one is negative. Plug them in. So in your kit will also come all of your screws necessary to screw your new 6.5s in. So for that, just go ahead and grab them. Just start screwing them in. So now all 4 of those screws are in. We actually give you 9 just in case you drop one. So now we've got all of our screws screwed in. We will just readjust, make sure that all of our holes are still there, and then we can drop our speaker grill right back on. Get them started by hand. There we go, that one. Then that one. And then again, your T15, go ahead and tighten those back down. Just remember not to over tighten these screws. And I'll just go over them by hand just to make sure they're nice and tight, but not too tight. Now we've completed the installation of our new Kicker KS 6.5-inch speakers into our soundbar. We can move on to our front speaker pods. Again, it's 3 T20 Torx bolts to remove those out of there. So let's get those out. Once those 3 are out, you can remove. Now this might have a little bit of sticky on there. There's a rubber gasket that over time will melt to the plastic. And then same as in the soundbar, push in and remove. Now we'll do our other pod. All 3 of those are removed. Push in and remove. Now your front speaker kit will come with 2 6.5-inch mid-bass, as well as 2 tweeters, and all the necessary factory plug-and-play harnesses. So for the speaker pods, we are going to use the harnesses with the white plug. So go ahead and get those plugged in, make sure they click. Click. So here is where you can do a little housekeeping if you so choose to wire tie so you don't have some, extra wiring bouncing around in there. I like to put 1 or 2 wire ties on there just to kind of keep it all together. There's one. We'll do this one here. So again, you'll get your Bantam Overland 6.5-inch adapters. You can get your speaker harness all settled in. Now on the speaker pods, the larger tab will go to the top of the pod itself. So set those in. Now we can grab our 6.5-inch mid bass, and you'll be just same as in the soundbar. The larger one will go to positive. The smaller one will go to the negative of the speaker. And we can go ahead and get everything stuck in. Get our other speaker going. Plugging in. Getting them in. And again, you'll have a second bag with all your screws in there. Go ahead and get our factory T20s back into our Bantam Overland speaker adapters. And then we'll go ahead and screw in our speakers. So just line them up with the pre-drilled holes. So that one's in there. We'll come back and tighten up the factory T20s once we get this speaker all done. So if you're happy with how you got them in there, go ahead and mount down the Bantam Overland speaker adapters with your T20. Again, remembering not to go overboard, tightening them too much. So now that our new speakers are all installed into our speaker pods, we have one last set of speakers to install. Those are going to be the tweeters. We're going to show you in a little bit how to install them into the Jeep. So let's go ahead and put our soundbar back into the Jeep. Now, if you have a second person, this is the perfect time to use them. If not, I'm going to show you how to do it by yourself. So first thing is you want to start on the passenger side of the Jeep. Get the soundbar up and plugged in. Make sure you hear that click. Let it hang gently, and you're going to move to the driver's side of the vehicle and start the bolts on that side. So let's go over there and start those bolts. So from here, we can just gently place it up and get our bolts started. Get at least 2 of them going. Then we can go ahead and get our third bolt in. Then we can go back onto the passenger side and get those 3 bolts in. the last bolt. Now that our soundbar is all installed, we can move to the front of the vehicle and continue with our installation. So now we're going to move on to the passenger side and get the speaker pod and the tweeter installed. I have everything I need here to get that installed. My drill, some wire ties, my tweeter, and my tweeter plug, as well as my ring for the tweeter, and I'll show you how to put that on in a second. But first we're going to go ahead, get the speaker pod into the vehicle. You're going to go back through the glove box and then in. And remember, the 2 brass bolts are the ones on the outside. So let's go ahead and get that in. Go ahead and get these 2 brass ones on the end started. Take your screw gun or socket and just gently get them in so they're a little bit tighter. Now we'll go ahead and grab our speaker wires or our factory speaker plug so we don't forget. Get that all plugged in. Now we'll change over to our 8mm and get that into the bottom of the speaker pod. Give that a nice, it's pretty tight. We still have to tighten those up. Now you can go ahead and grab the rest of your 7mm, the 4 here, and then the 1 down in the bottom corner. Get those all back in. And the last one down in the bottom corner. So that's all nice and tight. You can go ahead and tighten the 2 brass on the side. So now our speaker pod is tight. Our dash is tight. We can go ahead and put on our lower sub panel. And that's just plastic or rubberish. So we're going to hold off on putting our glove box back in until we have our tweeter all installed and ready to go. So let's do that now. So we'll grab our inline crossover, and you'll notice factory plug and our matching female version of the factory plug. Just plug that in. Make sure you hear a little click. So running the tweeter wire can be a little bit difficult. Just take your time. There's a small access hole on the inside or the outside, facing the outside of the vehicle. You just kind of gently feed that up through and you can pull it up. Now you will be pulling some of that back down, but not until we make our connection. So we have our kicker, 1-inch tweeter, and a beauty ring. That's pretty simple. Just place the tweeter inside. There are some grooves that it will stick on, and it should sit flush with the tweeter. So when you go to put it in, you're going to have male and female spades. They're corresponding to where they go. So you're going to have a male on the vehicle side and a female on the tweeter side. Plug those in together and then push the plastic up to cover up the metal. And then the other one, you will have a female on the vehicle side and a male on the tweeter side. Push those in, cover them back up. Now we've got our tweeter plugged in. We're going to feed the wire back down through into this open cavity. And then when we get our tweeter lined up, you're just going to push it in to the tweeter mount. And then Kicker provides you with this neat little adapter to be able to move the tweeter inside the housing and just kind of get that Kicker logo just right. So now that that tweeter is all in and done, we can go ahead and do some housekeeping and, you know, throw some wire ties on here and make it look a little prettier. And then we can get that back inside, hidden out of the way. So I actually went up, behind, and then underneath the top part of the dash. So now we're done with the tweeter. We can go ahead, throw our side panel on, starting with the bottom, making sure the bottom's lined up. And then we can just get that all locked back on. Lining up our glove box, there's 2 notches. Stick in, press in, and then close. So now it's back in. So last step before we finish is just reattaching the door on there so it doesn't go flying away, and we're done. So from there we can move on to the driver's side and finish up the install. We're going to go ahead and start with the speaker pod. We want to first make sure we plug it in since we have that out and ready. And then again, gently pulling on the dash. You're going to slowly wiggle it in, trying to protect the speaker as well. And then get it lined up. Grab our 2 brass bolts, get them started just to help hold that speaker pod into place. Once we have them started, we're just going to give them a little bit of a tightening with our screw gun. And then we can go ahead and switch over to our 8mm and get our bolt into the bottom of the speaker pod housing. Now that that's tightened down, we can go ahead and start putting the rest of the dash together, starting out with the protector plate. So drop that in. Those are the 2 10mm bolts. Get those bolts started. Now we're done with that 10mm. We can go back to 7, and we can start putting the rest of the bolts back into the dash. Don't forget about the one up top that we pulled out originally. Then we have our one last bolt on the bottom. Now that's all done. We can go ahead and move over to the tweeter, get that all done. That'll be very, very similar to the passenger side. So grab our inline crossover, plug it in, make sure it clicks. Now, the driver's side has a little bit bigger opening, so you can just feed it straight up through and grab it. And just like with the passenger side, put on the beauty ring, and then we can go ahead and just plug it in just as we did. So male to female, male to female. Gently pull it back down through to get rid of some of that slack. And then take the tweeter, push it in, lock it in. Use our handy dandy tool here to kind of twist it, just get it exactly where we want it. Make sure that Kicker logo is straight. Then we can do our housekeeping. The wire tie on there. Get that hidden in behind the dash. So now our front driver's side is all done. We just have to put on the rest of the panels. Then we can take a listen to it. So let's get the panels on, take it for a test spin. I'll start by putting my lower sub dash panel on. Getting that all in. Again, that's like a rubbery plastic. Then I'll go ahead, take my upper panel, making sure I get it onto the hooks. Push that in, and then the side panel. Again, I try to line up the bottom and then just push on. So that completes the installation portion. Now we're going to go ahead and take a listen. So now that our install is all done, it's time for us to take a listen to it. So wow, what a vast difference over the factory Jeep speakers. Now this would pair wonderfully with a Kicker 5-channel amp and a Kicker subwoofer, but sounds amazing on its own off of a aftermarket or factory head unit. So if you have any questions or are looking to purchase our Kicker KS 6-speaker bundle for your 2007 to 2011 Jeep JK, please visit us at bantamoverland.com. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and as always, have a blast out there.